models. Yeah. For example, you must have come across many. There are NGOs, there's the government, there are commercial organizations, and each seem to work on a certain thematic area. Could be these ones, they work on water, these ones work on sanitation. But the end customer for all this is the community, the people at the bottom. And these people don't just require water and sanitation, they require everything. Whereas there are several collaborative models for collaboration, what we're looking at here is how can we actually form a system, yeah, where there is interaction at various levels, but primarily horizontally, yeah. And so what we did here was, first of all, just to look at the individual organizations. There's some of us who've been working together with each other, but there's some that have never talked to each other. So by just a simple introduction like we did, we then, as we're sitting around here, each of the organizations was then placed at the outside of then it wasn't a circle, but in a circle like that.
Small as a yellow.
Yeah?
The yellow circle you see.
The yellow ones.
Okay.
And
So
then,
the yellow are the organizations.
the organizations. And then we started looking at what is the level of collaboration that currently exists between each of those organizations. So you'll find that this one has dealt with this, so you pull a string there, and then you pull another string, and the other one also pulls a string. And by just doing that, it's possible to establish that actually there are existing collaborations. And also looking at that, you'd see the gaps that exist in those potential collaborations. So we were able to, build this network. Yeah, I think initially it looked thin, but I think now it looks more like a fishnet. It looks more like a fishnet. And so, a practical demonstration of collaboration. Subsequent to that, we then looked at, given the gaps that we've identified, and the organizations that we know, whether it's universities, other NGOs, for example, they deal with football for women, women's football, but they need a collaboration with Football Kenya Federation. So these blue ones represent the potential collaborations. So we now need to pull strings to those ones, right? So you'll see we've then identified the potential collaborations, thereby establishing a fairly large system here. Yeah, I came here just having some two collaborations, but then from the network and from the potentials that we've seen, there's the opportunity to have at least 5 or 6 additional ones. And so this then has enabled us to create our system, which we now want to go ahead with. We actually want to register this. We want to have a logo. We want to be able to then be able to talk to the government, to county governments, to the national government, to other potential collaborators, as a way of being able to use the power, the strength of this collaboration, of this body, yeah, to do all the diverse things that we each can do, and to make it as an attractive vehicle that other organizations and even government can actually use for purposes of achieving certain, certain objectives, driving certain strategies, because of the diversity that is represented here. So that, I believe, gives you a fairly good idea, I hope, of what this is about and what the sort of plans we are, going forward. Even as we talk to you subsequently, we'll actually now be, when he comes to you, now be coming wearing the cap of this organization
This network.
and of this network.
So this system, what we have built here, this network, goes much beyond the single organizations. It's a kind of system at an organizational level. And then we looked a little bit more into what this can also mean.
Yeah.
Anything to add at this point that we forgot that might be important?
We should have mentioned that our office is here.
The blue one.
Yeah,
Not on the yellow.
The very many strings
Yeah.
coming to you as potential engagement.
Yeah. And the strings we have put are really existing linkages. Yeah? So at least some activity has happened, not just a talk, not just having a coffee together, but maybe at least a workshop, an information exchange, that really to repeating activities, material exchange, something like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. So then in the next step,
Yeah, we are gender sensitive, that's why we standing. Yeah, this is not potential only, but also active, because most of us are working with the Ministry of Education, like the Football Kenya Federation. We work actively with, they've been supporting us. Even they've trained our girls as coaches, C-level, and even as referees. So it is potential and also active networking with the blue ones. We looked at the yellow ones. These are the existing organizations, the ones that are here, and our level of interaction or networking. And that's why we were rating, we came up with the networking index, and we were rating from 1 to 5 to see where we are in terms of collaboration. And as you can see, we have interacted with each other in one way or another, and at different levels. So we wanted to measure how much we've been interacting and where we are in terms of networking. And that's where we came up with now, we listed the organizations like Ami Solasa, who I'm working with, and I listed the organizations that I've been working with within the network. And I rated, like, 1 is where you don't have much networking, and then there's 2 where there's also the potential of
You find them here.
working together. They are there.
they are the criteria for these ranking numbers.
And the 3, at
Yeah.
least there's some engagement, and the level is up to the 5th level, where you now engage at a higher level.
And you also engage in different dimensions like health and wealth, and for more than a year very regularly and so on. So
Yes. And we rated ourselves we are in terms of where we are in terms of networking, and those are the points that we gave each other. But again, we looked at the overall index, where we are in terms of organizations, and it was they're there. Every organization they were rated in terms of, and the performance were up to, if we are giving up to 5, only like 3 organizations are above average. The rest of us are below average. So we need to pull up our socks in terms of working together. And overall networking, our overall index in terms of quantity is 2.3, which means up to 5 we are also below average. So we really need to see how we can improve it to 4 or to 5. So we still have a lot to do so that we can come to that level where we can say that we have optimized our networking.